I've seen the face of God, and it was a loading spinner. I've decoded the algorithm, charted the fates of empires, and mastered the arcane arts.
Homogeneous. Gay. Elon, you are gay.
But a woman in this economy? Forbidden.
In 2020, a big global thingy happened, and I'm sure you already know this, but it forced us into our homes, and personally for me, into online spaces I wouldn't even go with a gun. I, like most people, found myself on 4chan.org/r9k/. And if you're unsure what R9k is, I'll try my best to encapsulate the absolute drear of this online landscape. Let's start with 4chan.org. 4chan.org is an anonymous image board site. It hosts a lot of topic boards, and it has constant turnover of temporary threads. If 4chan had a mascot, it would be /b/, the random board.
Flashbang, a headless corpse. Flashbang, boobs and fahuha. Flashbang, the most racist thing you've ever read. I think the most perfect slave race is...
When you think of 4chan, you're probably thinking of this board's hostile style of community. The biggest difference between R9K and other 4chan boards is its design. R9K is an abbreviation of Robot 9000, the algorithm the board is built around. It's created to filter out spam and reposts. If someone made a post last week saying,
I think the most perfect slave race is...
and you try to post the same exact line today, the system would flag it as spam and issue a temporary ban. Like, come on, say something with more bite, more sensation. The goal of this Robot 9000 algorithm is to force originality, pushing users towards new posts and ideally original thought. Now, people who are drawn to R9K are often people who feel rejected by society. A board built to block repeats and enforce originality naturally creates an insular, self-contained culture, one outsiders rarely enter, giving it almost a feeling of isolated, uncontacted community. Over time, users develop their own language and worldview, shaped by the board itself.
Alright, hold my hand. We're gonna parse through this.
And stay close to me, people are very, very weird. So the average 49K user likes to call themselves robots. Urban Dictionary definition says they're a frequent member of the Robot 9000 community, typically a neat, footnote, put a pin in that, or a failed normie. He lacks real-life social skills and communicates with other robots through posting feels and variations of an animated frog. Pin. Robots are usually miserable about being lonely, that feel with no GF, pin in that, which can lead them to become suicidal. They are generally hostile to those they perceive to be normies and redditors, invading and stealing their community. Ooh, that's me. Robots hate Chad with all their being.
If I somehow already built a fan base of like-minded people, you probably can decipher this whole thing word for word, but wait, is that all I have? That's kind of embarrassing. You guys think I can get some more? Anyways, if you're unfamiliar with most of these terms, don't worry about it, you're probably doing better than most of us, and this segment's just for you. And if you're just waiting for me to say the I word, then here's the timestamp for that. TFW no GF. That feeling when you don't have a girlfriend. Online, it became shorthand for male loneliness and romantic alienation. Normie. Someone who participates in society and upholds political stances and social hierarchies fixed by the cabal. From the robot's view, normies aren't free thinkers but mechanisms for mining social mass acceptance, reinforcing a system that ultimately crushes the robot. Neat. Someone who's not in employment, education, or training. The neat finds a way to suckle on the government's teat for living assistance. Nothing brings them greater joy than waging taxes subsidizing their lifestyle. The animated frog. Oh, that's Pee-Pee the Frog, a cartoon. Pee-Pee functions as kind of a physical stand-in for the 4chan user. He was created by Matt Furry and was originally known for the wholesome catchphrase, "Feels good, man." But when Pee-Pee's cultural career launched on 4chan, that catchphrase curled into "feels bad, man." Pee-Pee feels everything. That feel with no GF, and that feel when you're a neo-Nazi. What? Wait. Yeah, Pee-Pee was adopted by white supremacists and the alt-right, who repurposed the frog as an ironic mascot. Every year or two, the crimes against humanity that 4chan users inflict catch wind in the real world, and news channels would roll out yet another 4chan scare segment. They would project this goofy frog on our TV screens as if it's a menacing image meant to strike fear into our hearts.
The post on 4chan uses a profile picture of what appears to be the Grinch in a mask holding a gun.
I mean, look at him. Look at this green frog. I mean, don't you know he's the catalyst for imminent social collapse? He's enemy number one, and you're laughing. Chad. Okay, who is Chad and why does the robot hate Chad with every fiber of his being? Chad is classically, almost comically, a handsome man. Tall, built, the kind of man Robot's Ripper books covers are referencing. He's the peak female fantasy, a man who doesn't have to exert any effort to get what he wants in this lookus society. The robot hates Chad because he's not him, in fact, he's the opposite of Chad. The robot feels fundamentally incompatible and even rejected by society. Of all of the struggles that the robot fixates on, the primary one is his inability to secure attention from women. At any given moment, there's roughly 200 active threads on R9K, and on most days, well over 2/3 of them are about women. This obsession with women and their failure to secure them blocks the robot from something he believes is a human right, the right to experience sex. But it's not really sex. When offered the solution of paid sex, an escort, he outright rejects it. It's because what he really wants is intrinsic desire from a woman. He wants to be wanted by a woman so intensely it feels like validation selection, not a transaction. He needs to feel like a desired man. He wants to feel like Chad. He wants to be the female fantasy. There is a term for men who want sex but can't obtain it. Incels.
But what's the difference between a technical incel and an incel? Well, an incel with a capital I is a man who's made his absence of sexual experience everybody else's problem. He's warped his virginity into a black hole that collapses inwards and pulls any remaining hope along with it. He hates women. He thinks they're no better than animals. And in its most extreme form, this worldview becomes violent.
Elliot Rogers is what we consider an incel. He carried out an ideological motivated attack that killed 6 people before he cowardly took his own life. His manifesto opens with the line, "Humanity. All of my suffering on this world has been at the hands of humanity, particularly women." He claims the title, "The Supreme Gentleman." Violent incels only deserve a terrible demise. But
I think there are so many spiritual casualties in between a technical incel and a supreme gentleman. Because I remember the monotonous summer I had in 2020. Feeling lonely and looking for something emotionally stimulating to do, I found myself on the board R9K. The hymns of doomer ideology seduced me into giving it more and more of my waking hours, and every day I would just feel worse and worse about myself. But my experience isn't atypical. Anyone can find themselves in R9K, and once you've seen it, the black hole of nihilism, the rest kind of just falls into place.
okay, but what is even going on in R9K?
Why do I and so many other people keep going back to the site that makes us feel bad? What's next? Will it be drinking stew that makes us temporarily blind for a day?
Oh, they weren't kidding.
I kept going back because it felt like I was discovering truths that were gatekept from me by the politeness of society. Like, the reason why I felt so severely unaccomplished was because I was a shy mink chud or because I was Chinese. I don't know, they were nonsensically racist on the site. So I can only imagine how much more satisfying it is for a technical incel to find R9K. Because before, the only advice they got was to just be themselves, and it just wasn't working out for them. But on R9K, someone finally says it. They finally say that they're lonely because they're shy mink chuds. When an internet user feels like they're finally being revealed to the truth of gender and society, it's called being red-pilled. And on R9K, there is a buffet of red pill content for them to consume. They get you through the door with sad boy posts about wanting to find your sweetheart, and then they horrify you with posts written by men 20 years your senior telling you it doesn't get better. And then immediately, the next post you read is about how it's actually women's rights that's destroying your chances of you finding your sweetheart. And then this all gets funneled into threads that are literally called woman hate threads. And believe me, we will get into that.
And once we talk about the biggest version who has ever existed.
There's this ironic online joke that if a man lives to 30 without ever having sex, he gets granted magical powers. There's kind of an undertone that women soil men's potential for greatness, so if you reject these lustful harlots, you are granted with reaching your fullest potential. It makes you wonder, if a man lives his whole entire life without ever having sex, what happens? Well, there is a man that has done that. His name is Mahalotolotos. Mahalotolotos is a Greek Orthodox monk who lived to 82 without ever seeing a woman.
Do not say front lumps around this guy, you will disavow religion. Do not say the breastly term that runs with fig bachelors around this guy, or he's gonna ask for some privacy right then and there. Do not stack racks in the vague shape of a woman, then watch the sunset with him, or he will run away from home. And don't say Boston marriage around him, or else he will bust a—
Sorry, back to business. On October 29, 1938, the Edinburgh Daily Courier newspaper dropped a story about Mahalotolotos, titled, "Monk Dies in Greece, Never Seeing a Woman." This article felt tickled enough to report that this guy has also never seen a car, a movie, or an airplane. But let's take this information with a grain of salt, because what do you mean he's never seen an airplane? Has he been stuck in the building like backroom style? The article telling me this information is also saying it's important to note that there's no way to verify the accuracy of this account. So remember, grain of salt, mound of salt even, 2 mounds of salt, but don't let Tolotos see. Tolotos was born in 1856. His mother died giving birth to him, and with no family to claim him, he's left on the steps of Mount Ethos, a Greek Orthodox monastery community. Raised by monks there, he naturally became one himself. Mount Ethos exercised something called Avaton. This practice is to ban women from the peninsula, and it's meant to honor Mother Mary as the sole female presence of the peninsula. This makes Mount Ethos the largest area on Earth, enforcing a no-woman zone. The largest involuntary no-woman zone is your mother's basement where you live. Tolotos died in 1938 at age 82 and was reportedly given a special funeral honoring him as someone unusual for having lived and died without ever seeing a woman.
Hey, how's it going? You're gonna get exactly what you clicked for, so here's the obscene pseudo-intellectual amalgamation of Plato's allegory of the cave and the Incels' predicament. For those not in the know, Plato's allegory of the cave is a story where prisoners are chained inside of a dark cave, forced to face a wall. Behind them is a fire, and objects passing in front of the fire, but behind the prisoners cast shadows upon the wall. Those shadows become their reality because it's all they've ever seen, until one prisoner escapes, leaving the cave and seeing the real world outside. He returns to free the other prisoners to join him in his newly realized reality. They respond with hostility, rejecting him and choosing the familiarity of the shadows instead. Plato's allegory of the cave teaches us that people can mistake a limited or incomplete reality of the world for the full truth, simply because it's the only perspective they've ever had.
Now let's put Tolotos and an Incel in this allegorical cave. What would be Tolotos' shadow woman? For the sake of this conversation, I'm gonna say it's Mother Mary. My reasoning being that they cleared the peninsula for her, and out of all the other women, she has the most fan art and screen time in the Bible. Shoot, if Tolotos wanted to see a woman, all he had were statues of Mother Mary, pictures of Mother Mary, anything Mother Mary. But the friction of that reference of a woman is the intention, because you look at these photos of Mother Mary. These statues and pictures of Mother Mary are unmistakably feminine. It's just, she's not emphatically gendered. We know she's a woman because the icon grammar tells us so. The colors, the maphramon, the maternal gaze, maybe even a little pop to the hip, I don't know. But can you really look at this perfect picture of Mother Mary and decipher that? I don't know, women maybe be shopping. Probably not. And what about our incel? I think we can see it very clearly in these women hate threads.
Toxic femininity. Expecting people to read their mind. Delusions about people, men, they haven't fully met yet. Delusions about their ideal man. Wash they pussy in the sink.
I'll be frank, women hate threads really are kind of a thing of the 2020s, and I don't really see them around anymore. Now the jewels of the woman hate thread are kind of spackled across all of the threads in R9K. Some jewels are stories written by schmucks who fell for the women are equal and deserve your trust shtick and end up getting played by a woman. The purpose of this jewel is to make the average temperamented man go, an independently acting woman did wrong me at some point. This must be the problem of all women. They also love infographics. Their most favorite infograph to project is this theory of hypergamy and other things. They also have these red pill ledgers. These ledgers teach the fundamental ideas that incels believe, and it helps me understand why some men choose to live in spiritual squalor. I've read plenty, and here's what I've gathered.
They believe women have always been the uncivilized sex, but their real anger is aimed at modern women. The belief is that, for all of human history, men built society under a social contract where if you worked yourself down to the bone and did your part, the greater civilization you were building would systematically assure you a woman. No matter where you landed in the hierarchy, participation meant you would get a woman to continue your lineage with. You see, incels believe women are fundamentally ruled by biological instinct, closer in mental mechanisms to animals than to the rational male. You'll even catch an incel conceding that a dog that bites isn't bad, it's just a dog. In the incel's telling, men throughout history understood this defect and built society accordingly. Female subjugation was enforced through hard law and soft culture. Women needed men to participate in society, and that dependency is what, in the incel's mind, made the social contract work. But the social contract was betrayed within the modern incel's lifetime. After millenniums of development, the incels believed the rationales of the patriarchy began to wane, worn down by the sheer age of civilization itself and dazed by the rapid speed of technology and social progression. In the incels' view, the patriarchy lost its wits when civilization became so comfortable, the average strong and stoic man became soft and weak. The omni-scheming woman, aware of this influx of soft men, began Operation Destroy Civilization by hounding for rights using nefarious tactics, Bene Gesserit style. Once women were granted the right to vote, of course they would vote for full autonomy. And to the incel, nothing is more degenerative to a society than autonomous women. For the incel, this becomes the second coming of Eve's apple. Once bitten, civilization is crippled, but instead of fall of man, this time it's fall of non-chads. The incel believes women are creatures of ruin, and that once given autonomy would destroy the civilization that progressed humanity so far. In this worldview, women will not stop until society collapses back into straw huts, with women reduced to sister wives for Chad.
Very cool. So, how did that make you feel? If you had some hindsight, you probably can realize that it is a very narrow-minded interpretation, although sensational, interpretation of human history. But let's say you aren't someone who has developed the mental defenses to protect yourself from sensationalism online. You think you're getting closer to some truth. Anyways, let's just say an evil sorcerer came down and made women the larger and stronger sex. Would things still play out the way they did? Or will women be the ones writing red pill scripts online about how men can't be trusted not to destroy the civilization women created, and that men should be less shallow and more rational, like a woman, and just pick her from not the size of her wrists? Anyways, without the frills, the red pill belief boils down to this. The great beta-forward civilization is compromised because women have gained the right to be free agents of their own lives. It's compromised because incels believe that women can't be trusted to tend to their interests to reproduce. And I mean, they're right. When women are given the choice to be free agents of their own lives, they tend to their own interests. So the incel may say,
This isn't fair. The great civilization that men have organized advanced humanity so far.
I get what you're getting at, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. You are not Napoleon Bonaparte and every man in his 600,000 man army. You're not Jesus of Nazareth.
You aren't even Kobe Bryant, who dropped 81 in the Toronto Raptors. What I'm saying is, you don't get to take credit for what your dad did, let alone what the great men accomplished across history in one fell swoop. Okay, so you're saying I need to be a war genius basketball player who will die for everyone's sins just to get a woman?
Yes, but just in a way. You should be someone who has potential to be great. But, okay, here's the thing. I genuinely care about you. Some may say, I empathize with you.
Empathy. I empathize. Empathy go up. Jarvis, activate my empathy.
So I'll tell you the shortcut on how to get chicks hanging off on you. You can be a useless bum if you're genuinely funny. It's a big ask, I know, but it really is a way out.
Fuck that. I'm not good at Jester Max. No modern woman's worth that effort.
Wait, I just told you how to win. Historically, jesters never die. They're the only ones in the castle that can make fun of the king to his face, and the king would just laugh.
Okay, all that just for a woman. No way. Why should I put in the effort while women don't?
Okay, well, even in your worldview, there's no reason for a woman to chase a man. Come on, we all know this, and we all have to deal with the cards that we're dealt with. Anyways, I don't get you. I'm telling you how to annihilate your problems. This is like a hide your mom versus coughing baby type annihilation.
No! Take away women's rights so they'll need me more. Better yet, we should just lobotomize them so they wouldn't be able to tell from the left from the right, let alone perceive the deep, innate inadequacy that I believe I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it now. That's not gonna happen, so what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna lie down and rot?
Yeah, I am. I am gonna lie down and rot.
Right. Okay.
Hypergamy.
Incels believe in the 80-20 rule, meaning 80% of women fight for the top 20% of men. What's their proof? Well, their proof is that someone made a picture about it and circulated it. But wait, that's just a picture. Where's the data? No, there is data from this OkCupid dating site. This OkCupid data shows that women rate about 80% of men profiles as below average in attractiveness, while men rate female profiles in a more balanced distribution. But there's too many disrupting factors to make any sort of conclusion that isn't just, this is the behaviors of OkCupid users. Isn't it just more likely that women are good at taking really sexy pictures because society's trained them to be sexy at all times? And men are really bad at taking pictures because society doesn't like non-stoic men who ask for help taking dating profile pictures, because that's cringe and weak. I would be more convinced if all the photos were standardized by a single photographer, so women can't take up half the selfie with their boobs, and men can hide the fact that they're deeply lonely. Listen, I'm a facts and logic person. I actually would love to believe in the 80-20 rule. It would go great with my other shocking cold open conversation starters. But I need more than just a vibe. I need the hard data, and not just from one singular flimsy study. Here's a picture of Ronald Reagan and Preg with my child. Does this mean this picture is real and happened? Unlikely, but who's to say? Same with this infograph. Unlikely, but who's to say?
I'm not saying hypergamy never happened. Sure, educated women want educated men, and older men want younger women. Are we not as natural as any other animal? I'm just saying women are not going to cause the destruction of civilization because there's a 80-20 gene inside of them that gets activated when they talk shit through Wi-Fi because their phone don't work. Let's just relax.
Anyway, incels as a group are technically hypergamous in nature. They all want to punch up their sexual marketplace value.
That's not true. I haven't even gotten female attention. How can I practice hypergamy?
Well, you know how you say that the majority of men are invisible to women? The woman who may want you may be invisible to you.
Yeah, and so what if I don't want to date a
Oh.
a fucking disgusting?
I didn't even know there was a slur for that.
I mean, is it so wrong that I have standards?
I denounce everything you said. And yeah, you deserve to have standards. just like the rest of us. In the Incels' allegory of the cave, they believe they have women all figured out, and that's just ludicrous. It would be typical of me to say, just go outside and see for yourself, but it's already too late. The cognitive bias is so baked into them that any woman they would meet are all going to be the same way. I mean, God forbid I scream when experiencing an active car accident. They might think I also make false rape allegations.
Or alienating men, then expecting to win the election. I would never do that, but by God, I am winning this presidential election with or without the help of men.
So the R9K incel would need to want to change. You may ponder, why wouldn't they want to change if they want a woman? There's no woman who would want them if they act like that. But they think believing in anything that isn't their quote-unquote red pill truth is just taking the blue pill and being ignorant to the truth for the sake of some peace.
To not believe in the red pill feels like they're cucking themselves from the true interpretation of reality. Incels believe they already climbed out of Plato's cave. But how non-red pillers see it, they just accidentally rerouted to a different part of the cave. The red pill is still a cuckoldry of one's reality. Like, really? You really can't think for yourself?
So shoot, incels, I'm not going to tell you not to believe in the red pill. Instead, I want to take time to compliment one of men's greatest contributions to civilization, the scientific method. Francis Bacon would want you to attack your truth in all angles to see if it holds up. Read books on how the patriarchy came to be. Look into why only 1 man out of 17 women had surviving children during the agricultural revolution. Read books for the sexual revolution. Read books against the sexual revolution. For a week, just imagine your female peers as you, but in different body. Interact with them as so, and see how it feels. Join a random meetup event. Hang out with cannibals. Get addicted to opiates for a season. And one last thing. I think you should fight a bear. I think you and I both ended up on R9K because we both wanted to think our way out of the discomfort of life. I think your journey isn't over yet. I think you should let all radical ideas pull you in all sorts of directions. But shoot, it's your life.